Hello and welcome to Giant Monster Week 6. Yes, we have returned. It's good to be back. We're going to be looking at giant monster movies all week leading up to the release of Godzilla, King of the Monsters. And as a special treat, every film we'll be looking at this week will be from Toho. In the spirit of the new movie that's coming out this week, which features the big four from Toho, Godzilla, Rodan, Mothra, and Ghidorah, and while we've already covered Godzilla and Rodan's first solo film, so go check out those videos, we're going to be taking a look at Mothra's original solo film from 1961. At this point in time, Godzilla had already starred in two of his own films, the original Gojira from 1954 and Godzilla Raids Again a year later. The ending of Raids Again has the big G frozen in ice, putting the kaiju on sort of a hold of speak, so Toho could try out some other films starring new monsters. In 1956, they made the film Rodan. Again, go check out that video. After that, the company did a mix of monster films, samurai films, and other genres, before releasing Mothra in 1961. This film feels very similar to the original King Kong film, at least for me. Minor spoilers ahead, a group of people go to a remote island where they discover the Twin Fairies. Through a series of events, there's a greedy guy who kidnaps them, brings them back to civilization, and forces them into a stage show for money. A giant monster, Mothra, gets mad, goes on a rampage, and Bob's your uncle. There are other details, of course, but I don't want to go too deep into it. Mothra herself is a very unique monster. She starts as an egg, then a larva form, cocoons, and finally her final form that we all know. This becomes a reoccurring theme for the character as time goes on, as she appears in many other films after this. I like to think of her as the rising phoenix of the series. In this film, she doesn't put much effort into causing destruction, just causing high winds to blow stuff around. Later on in the franchise, she has a couple more abilities to use to defend herself. What was unique about this film is Mothra wasn't portrayed as a threat, a natural disaster, or something that just had to be defeated. Mothra was simply responding to a human's poor actions, protecting what was hers. This helped make Mothra feel like an actual character with motive, instead of just destroying stuff. It's also the first movie that Toho did where, spoiler, the monster did not die at the end. This turned out to be a smart move because Mothra was very successful and popular, even to this day. Of course, we can't talk about a kaiju film and not mention the special effects. A lot of the early stuff looks good, satisfactory to this era. The absolute best stuff, though, in the movie is when Mothra is in her final form and she starts flying over areas. Particularly, there are some overhead shots that are just amazing. They look so good, beyond impressive for the time that this movie was made. A lot of the miniature work is top-notch. As the high winds from Mothra scenes go on, unfortunately the sets do not look as good. There's a part where a bunch of cars get blown around, and it's really obvious that they're toy cars. It's charming, don't get me wrong, but it's very jarring from the previous scenes. Still, on the whole, it's really cool stuff to see. Unfortunately for my viewing of this film, I had to watch the American release of it, which notoriously removed a good amount of footage, rearranged some scenes, and of course, did a dubbing. This was actually my first time seeing this film, and it didn't feel really that awkward when watching it, but I am curious how much different the Japanese version is, which is getting released stateside soon, as Mill Creek is releasing an awesome-looking steelbook of the film which will have both versions of the film. At the time of recording this video, it is not out yet. If you're a giant monster fan, Mothra's debut film is a must. It has that old school feel with cool effects, and a story that's not too corny like how the later films got. It's not super serious either, but it falls at a happy balance in the middle there. Check it out. This video was brought to you by the podcast My Grandma's Basement. I'll actually be on there talking about Godzilla and the new movie, so be sure to give it a listen. Link is below.